Hi, everyone, and welcome to another session of Power in Her Words with Her Domain. Today we have Shamim Rajani with us. Assalamu alaikum, Shamim. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to talk to you today. I'm sure we all have a lot to learn from you as you're one of the pioneers of the tech industry in Pakistan. We're going to be talking about your work with Genetech Solutions. And because you have worked for such a long time in the tech space, we of course want to talk about the future of tech in Pakistan and what you see happening. So let's get right into it. You have had quite a journey in the tech space that has led you to Genetech. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What initially drew your interest in the tech space and what eventually drove you to start a company, Genetech?
So this question has been so occasional with me that it's like stuck. It's like I've memorized it. I started off in the tech space incidentally, and there wasn't any plan to start off, and so there was this first gig that came to me out of the blue, and I just did it. It was for a company in the UK, and I just did that. It was a website development thing back in 2004. And that led me to understanding actually what freelancing was about back then. I had no idea. And then I started learning about freelancing platforms 2 years down the line. 2006, I had a team of 5 people working with me. And that's exactly when Genetech was born. It was November 2006. We registered the company. And so then there was no looking back. The tech domain has been very generous and giving to me. I've been very lucky that way. That, locally, we market mein, alhamdulillah, we have a brand value, we have a lot of people respect the brand and me. Internationally, we've been able to capture the kind of audience that I think we are able to serve easily. So small and medium businesses in the US and Europe, that's what we do. So at Genetech, we build software solutions for user-centric software solutions for small and medium businesses across, like I said, the North American and the European market. Our customer revenue size is usually from 2 to 20 million in revenue, so that we call that small and medium. We're pretty industry agnostic, and we build software solutions both in open source and closed source for a lot of industries, but we are really good in healthcare, fintech, and logistics. These are 3 areas that we work mostly on. But obviously, we've done a lot of work in other areas as well, including edtech, hospitality, and so many others. So yeah, that in a nutshell is us, and and because it's been around 2 decades, I've seen the ups and downs, both locally and internationally. I've also seen the startup eco scene, get started, get on its feet, collapse during COVID, come back. I've seen all of it. So yeah, so that sort of knowledge I think helps you make decisions for your own business and for your own professional growth.
For sure. And you mentioned that you started with a team of 5 people back in 2006, right? And now you're like this big company that has expanded to so many verticals, like you mentioned. How has that been? I'm sure that comes with challenges, and more so because you're a woman in this industry, right? So how has that been? How have you been able to overcome the challenges that you faced?
I mean, yes and no, both. Because as you grow, when you decide you want to build a company, then there is a framework that you follow, right? And as you grow, you also learn. With me, the only challenge was nobody in my family, close family, had done business or opened a business, let alone a tech business, right? So that was maybe one of the challenges. But as I grew and as I moved forward, good people came on board, and we learned how to actually bring good people on board. We actually build that strategy for ourselves, what works, what doesn't work as a company for us. And now we, alhamdulillah, have a team of 100, 10 people in 3 cities of Pakistan. And I think that I also have good partners. So we are 3 partners. and it's a family run business. So each of one of us has their own strength. So my strength is operations and business development. My eldest brother, his strength is uh, yeah, uh, disaster recovery and data privacy and cybersecurity. And he also looks after the HR side of things. And then my dad, he's mostly into, accounting and taxation and all those sides. So I don't have to at all get into that area. So that was already covered for me. So that way I was lucky. But obviously, a lot of the things you learn as you grow. So, one example would be when we were a young company, we were always looking for good talent, good universities, good talent. Now we have found that right balance for us where we say, okay, good talent, good university, good ethics.
Yeah.
And what matters more? What takes if there's two good people with the same talent, or then who do we prefer? If there's two good people with the same ethics, who do we prefer and why? So these are things that we have learned over the years and built for ourselves. And I mean, we've had a fair share of failures, and then but we've tried to learn from those failures as well.
That's a pretty interesting comment about having the same skill set and then the deciding factor being the work ethic, right? Is this something that you maybe struggle now with, like a younger generation coming in and having a different work ethic compared to what you probably saw in the early 2000s?
Ye- I think being a 2-decade-old company, we don't struggle anymore because now we did struggle 10 years ago because even at that time we were a young company, and so we wanted the right talent set, and we would give up ethics at some point. But then we learned the hard way that giving up ethics is not the right thing. You will be able to train them in talent, but you cannot train them in ethics. It's pretty deep rooted. You can't teach them that at work. So, so now that we've learned that and we've started to sort of like say, okay, we'll eat this pill that is, कड़वी गोली हम खा लेंगे, लेकिन हम ethics को नहीं छोड़ेंगे. So that has actually worked out really well for us. So one of the things that we have at our company that we built over the years is that, you have these specific set of interviews where you have a technical interview, and then you have a technical test, and then you have a management interview. एचआर आपके शुरू में स्क्रीनिंग तो हो गई होती है, उसके बाद even after the management interview, so the candidate thinks, okay, this is the final ladder, the management interview. But then we give them another, small test, which is just 5 minutes, which basically covers if they how well they sit on our core values, which are five, right? Ownership, how do you stand in the customer's shoes? Do you share knowledge? Are you sort of like they're different five. I
Yeah.
myself don't remember, but there are five of those, and I can like they're really really good values. So taking ownership is first and foremost honesty, and making sure that you're honest. Then taking ownership of your work, standing in your customer's shoes, sharing knowledge, and being a good co-worker with your team, all of these together. So how do you react in in a situation where there's a time crunch, or where something goes wrong, there's a fire, and people are pointing fingers? Are you the one that would point a finger, or are you the one that would say, okay, let's get this out of the way first, and then we'll think about who did what? So these things don't come easy. They come with experience, but sometimes they also come from, where do you come from? What are your roots? What
Yeah.
are your family values? A lot of this comes from that. So वो जो हम कहते हैं ना कि जो तिफल को जो वो मिलता है ना तालीम, जो एक्चुअल वो माँ की गोद से मिलती है, स्कूल में जाकर तो वो कुछ और सीखता है, वो उस बट एक्चुअल जो होती है वो माँ की गोद से होती है. तो व्हाट आर योर फैमिली वैल्यूज? दैट मैटर्स अ लॉट टू अस व्हेन इट कम्स टू hiring somebody. Obviously talent तो है ही, उसके बाद this is what matters.
I think this is pretty key, right? As somebody who also works cross-functionally with people of all ages. So I think this is Really nice that you guys have a system in place where you're not only gauging the talent, but also the work ethic or the general ethic and whether it matches with your core values or not. So that's a pretty good learning for anybody who's in the recruitment process or is part of those recruitment teams. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what you think is the future of tech in Pakistan, right? There are a lot of evolving trends around the world, but of course, not all trends are going to come to Pakistan at the same time as they are spreading globally because of our local context. So, do you want to maybe share some trends that you think seem promising in the next 5 to 10 years in our context?
I'm a company that provides services for software solutions. I think development is not going anywhere, regardless of what technology stack you think about. So जिस ज़माने में हम लोग आए थे उस ज़माने में ASP होता था, फिर ASP.NET आया, फिर PHP आया, फिर frameworks आए, फिर JS frameworks आए, and now you have all of these JS frameworks. You have a full stack development जो होती है MERN stack पे होती है, Mean पे होती है, फ्लटर का अपना फ्रेमवर्क आ गया है, मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन डेवलपमेंट एक जमाने में ब्लैकबेरी होती थी. सो you have to keep up with that pace, right? So this basically is, I'm talking about centralized and open and closed source. I'm not even talking about decentralized, which is आप blockchain वगैरह की जो हम उसकी तो बात भी नहीं करें. वो भी 2017 2016 onwards उसका भी on and off trend है ही. So there's a group of organizations or companies in Pakistan that primarily work off of that, and that's fine too. My company doesn't work off of that, but डेफिनेटली जो सेंट्रलाइज्ड एप्लीकेशंस हैं वो हम उस पर हम काम करें. और टेक्नोलॉजी स्टैक्स चेंज होते रहेंगे. डेवलपमेंट इज नॉट गोइंग एनीवेयर. पाकिस्तानी डेवलपर, आई हैव ऑलवेज सेड इट, आई से इट अगेन, पीपल लाफ एट मी फॉर दैट, इज मच बेटर in terms of coding compared to our neighbors. और इसका आई थिंक कोई और बहुत बड़ा प्रूफ नहीं है सिवाय इसके कि ये जो अभी पिछली जो वॉर हुई थी उसमें पाकिस्तानी साइबर सिक्योरिटी के जो प्रोफेशनल्स थे, दे बेसिकली प्रूवन देयर वर्थ. सो आई हैव ऑलवेज सेड इट कि वी डू हैव द राइट काइंड ऑफ टैलेंट इफ वी चैनल इट प्रॉपरली. तो ये तो डेफिनेटली डेवलपमेंट तो डेफिनेटली राइट. सो रिगार्डलेस, I'm talking about getting, I'm being tech agnostic. जो भी टेक्नोलॉजी स्टैक इस वक्त लेटेस्ट है, यू हैव टू अडेप्ट टू दैट. उसके बाद आई थिंक डेवॉप्स एंड साइबर सिक्योरिटी, ये दो ऐसे एरियाज हैं जहाँ पे बहुत पोटेंशियल है, स्पेशली आज के ज़माने में जबकि आप दुनिया में यू सी द वर्ल्ड इज बिकम अ वॉर जोन. So cyber security is so important, across your borders, across different borders within your organization, everywhere. So उसकी बहुत demand है. People also say that there's a lot of demand for obviously data analysts, or definitely hogi, because if you connect that with AI, so everything is around data, and how you train your models on that data, right? So I think the third item would be AI. We just cannot, and we are not, but we just cannot lose focus on this. So even if you talk about me, a year back I might be saying, हाँ ठीक है आ रहा है सही है, we don't have to be that scared, and I'm still not scared, but I didn't know it would come this fast. I had no idea. अब मतलब हमारी बहस होती थी महफिलों में, हम कहते थे हाँ ठीक है, मतलब what's wrong with you guys? I mean, you're just obsessed, you're just AI obsessed, right? आ रहा है ठीक है. there's so many revolutions that came, the industrial revolution, internet का revolution सारे आए, और humanity evolves, and humanity will evolve around this revolution as well. But the thing is, at what pace? So the pace we misjudged.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming so fast that we have to act very, very fast. So you cannot say that a student coming out of university उसके बाद वो समझेगा कि AI क्या है. No, you have to introduce AI. Universities तो बहुत दूर की बात है. Elementary schools, primary, you have to inculcate it, inject it there. And then also don't forget the teachers, don't forget the trainers. You
Yeah.
have to inject it with them as well. Everything is AI. AI is not a subject. AI is everything now. So every subject has to have AI as part of it. right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
not something that you can say कि अच्छा AI भी पढ़ा देंगे, AI पढ़ा देंगे, AI पढ़ाना नहीं है, AI is part of everything now,
Yeah.
right? So everything has to be AI enabled. So I think that these are the three areas that I think that we should definitely keep an eye on and definitely not lose focus on.
Okay. And you mentioned that we do have a lot of talent, right? And of course, that talent can keep up with these changing trends as well, but we're unable to channel that talent the way our neighbors or other countries are able to do that. What policies or structural changes can support that channeling of talent, in your
Yeah,
opinion?
I think जो मेरा struggle रहा है और जो what I have always tried to do is to build that industry academia bridge. That's very, very important. If we are able to do that right, I think a lot of our challenges or channeling would be sorted. सही है। दूसरा ये है कि जो हमारे नेबर्स हैं उन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस किया हमसे 10-15 साल पहले to work on these boot camps. They've just government has just invested hundreds of millions of hundreds of millions into focusing on these boot camps. We just started 2-3 years ago, so obviously we've already missed the bus,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to get there. Number three, जो उनका एक network है internationally,
Yeah.
so I'm basically trying to cover it holistically, right? So not just channeling them and making sure they get the right kind of, training, but also that there are job opportunities out there for them. So हमारे जो neighbors हैं, उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा network किया globally, US में, Europe में. So wherever you go, you find somebody from there, उनका अपना एक setup बना हुआ होता है कि हाँ जी, वो मिल जाएगी, आपको job
Yeah.
मिल जाएगी.
Mm-hmm.
But as a Pakistani, you go there and you're like, oh man, Pakistani would be driving a cab, a Pakistani would be having a restaurant, but you seldom see, I'm not talking about the US mostly, but smaller cities, smaller countries, you seldom see a Pakistani there in tech. I'm very specific to tech, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You seldom see a Pakistani there in terms of tech. So that I think we missed the bus there. So the government has to work very, very hard to build these ecosystems to make sure that you know um, we have that support from our expats to be able to channel these people to the right वो तीसरी बात ये है कि जो हमारा स्टूडेंट है या जो हमारा ग्रेजुएट निकलता है हमारे पाकिस्तानियों के पता नहीं है क्या मसला है कि ईगो बहुत बड़े होते हैं
Yeah.
बहुत बड़े ईगो होते हैं तो इंटरनेशनली भी जब हम जाते हैं तो हम ये देखते हैं कि हम कहते हैं यार यू हैव XYZ कंट्री के लोग इतने सारे व्हाई डोंट यू हायर पाकिस्तान वी गो टू दीज बिग कंपनीज एंड वी से आप यू आर 20,000 people company and you have this percentage of our neighbors why don't you have Pakistanis and they would the first thing that we would hear them say is Pakistanis have big egos
Yeah.
and big cultural issues. Anybody else would say, yes, if you've come into another country, then you adapt to that country, not अपनी 1.5 इंच की मस्जिद ना बना लें कि नहीं हम तो ये हैं. So फिर if you're not going to adapt and mingle with the crowd, you're not going to be able to see opportunity. अभी हम पाकिस्तान में क्या कर रहे होते हैं? Why do we network? If you don't mingle with the crowd, you don't find opportunities. The exact same thing you need to learn to do globally, mingle with the crowd. And we find it very hard to mingle with the crowd. And this I have seen firsthand and heard firsthand. I've reached out to, really big companies कि यार तुम लोग यहाँ से लेते हो वहां से हमसे लो. Like, अच्छा ये वाला मसला कौन हल करेगा? कि you guys have big egos. And that obviously because then I looked around and I said, okay, we not only do we have big egos, we're just saying where is the money coming from? Okay, if I get enough money from driving a taxi or running a restaurant, why do I need to get into tech? So you don't even have the mindset, the right mindset to have a good career. You just flowing with the क्या कहते हैं कि ठीक है अभी अभी ये काम मिल रहा है ये कर लो we'll see 10 साल के बाद क्या होगा you're not even thinking 10 years ahead. So I think वो mindset graduates के अंदर यूनिवर्सिटी से आता है. So when I say ego, I think जो ethics हैं, work ethics, वो सिखाना बहुत जरूरी है. So as much as we focus on technical, we also need to focus on work ethics. And I'm not saying that all universities don't. Some do, most don't. And which is why we also have a hard time when we bring people and we have to let them go because the ethics don't match with what the company culture is.
Yeah, and most of it is left for the practical world, right? That they're going to learn it on the job. But some core skills related to work ethic and just what you mentioned about your ego or the way you interact with people, how you network, all of that has to be at some level. The seed for that has to be planted within your university, right? So you can build on that in the practical setting. Um, and then we talked about how AI and automation and all these evolving trends need to be inculcated at the school level even, and not so much कि अच्छा बाद में देखी जाएगी, right? But the other side of it is, how do you see it impacting the job market? Because there's a lot of hooba juba about this, कि AI will take up jobs, AI is going to start doing what people are doing right now, and especially in Pakistan, where there's less speciality, I would say, as per my observation, and a lot of people are doing work that can possibly be replaced by AI, right? So, how do you see that fitting in, and what is your take on that?
यार हो रहा है ना.
Hmm.
That's it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, right? But the thing is that either you can put your head in the either you can be an ostrich,
Yeah.
right? Or you can say, okay, I'm going to evolve. मैं हमेशा बार बार ये बात करती हूँ कि AI is not going anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
how is the best way to deal with it? Evolve, right? So just last week I was talking to a friend in Lahore. He had a mm, digital marketing agency, and he had and he has a pretty good customer base in Pakistan. Not that he lost work, but he let go 70% of his people because he said कि सारा काम तो अब AI कर लेता है, मुझे इनकी क्या जरूरत है, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the obviously not that उसके पास काम कम आ रहा है, बट चूंकि एआई कर लेता है ये सारा काम, सो पीपल नीड टू इवॉल्व. मैं अगर डेवलपमेंट की बात, सो कंटेंट, ग्राफिक डिजाइन, वीडियो एडिटिंग, ये सारे काम इतने सिंपल हैं कि एआई जो है वो कर लेता है. सो ह्यूमन नीड टू इवॉल्व टू बी मोर क्रिएटिव, more logically sharper, and this will take a generation
Yeah.
to evolve,
Mm-hmm.
right? तो हमेशा ऐसे ही होता है, जब भी कोई चेंज आता है तो इट टेक्स अ जनरेशन टू गेट टू दैट लेवल, राइट? तो डेवलपमेंट में ये है कि जो इस वक्त जो मैं देख रही हूँ वो ये है कि जो सिंपल टास्क हैं, जो रिकर्सिव टास्क हैं, जो रिडंडेंट हैं, CRUD हो गया, उस तरह की चीजें, वो एआई कर लेता है. बट जो ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स टास्क हैं, जिसमें लॉजिकल थिंकिंग चाहिए, जिसमें आपको जो है वो उस स्पेसिफिक इंडस्ट्री का या उस स्पेसिफिक बिजनेस का पूरा प्रोसेस पता होना चाहिए, इट्स वेरी स्पेसिफिक टू दैट बिजनेस, वो एआई नहीं कर सकता, इस वक्त नहीं कर सकता.
Mm.
But given the pace at which AI is growing, I, I don't know if that's 1 year down the line or 3 years down the line, right? So, so, but I am also assuming, and I was just actually listening to Bill Gates today. उनको ये सवाल पूछा था actually, अभी उस पे था, ट्रेवर नोवा पे था या पता नहीं कौन था वो. He is a good Minaj. What's his
Hassan
name? Minaj.
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 Yeah.
Hassan Minaj had Bill Gates on it, and he was saying कि जो है वो uh, so I think I lost my thread of thoughts कि वो क्या, he gave a very good वो about it. एक तो
Something
यही
about
वाली
impact of AI on the job
uh,
market.
yeah, I forgot, maybe he'll come back to me. I'll
Okay.
let you. One of the things that he said was this कि भाई you know 1 साल 3 साल नहीं पता कि
Mm-hmm.
you know कितनी जल्दी जो है वो ये होगा. But there was the other point that he made, it was very nice. I come to me, I'll tell you.
Okay. Okay. We've talked a lot about the future, so let's talk a little bit about the past. And if you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would that be?
I think I would give my younger self, I've always said this, that the advice that I took a very long time to come out of my shell and network. I till 2016, I think I don't think I ever attended any event. So having started in 2006 officially. And so 10 years, I never attended, I think, any event. Maybe one or two, that's it. शायद उस वक्त events होते भी नहीं थे या शायद मैं नहीं करती थी. So I never thought that I need to attend events to be able to grow my business. एंड दिस ऑल्सो कम्स बैक फ्रॉम द फैक्ट के जो है मैंने कोई जो है मेरी फैमिली में किसी के पास टेक का बिजनेस नहीं था. सो इट वाज जस्ट डिडंट अकर. But I think ever since 2016, 2017 onwards, when I started getting out of my shell and moving around and meeting people, that has exponentially helped me not only grow my business, but also, boost my confidence and the company's brand, as well as it has reassured me that what I have learned over the years is worth sharing. Till this point, I had no idea that what I knew was worth sharing. So I understood my worth. And I think that's a very, very big statement to say that you, after, it was a deja vu moment for me. Oh, people actually like what I say, because they tell me, not me, but they tell me that it comes from experience, and experience matters so much. So I guess that is what I would have taught myself, that you should have done this a lot earlier, and that's what I would tell anybody I meet.
Yeah, and in the post-COVID world, it's much easier to do. While like remote networking is obviously not the same as what you're able to achieve in person, but still it has opened up those doors, right? And access is easier. So
Mm.
definitely I feel like it's important every step of the way, even when you're entering the market or the tech space or any space that you're operating in. And then when you want to progress, or even as you said, even after 2 decades, you feel like networking is very important to grow your business and your brand. So that's great advice. And with that, we're going to close the session. Thank you again so much for your time and for sharing your insights. We really value it, and hopefully people who will watch this will value it and learn from it as well. So
Thank you.
thanks again.